I'm going completely commando today and not planned anything. I just have the idea in my head of what I want to talk about, but no examples, no bullet points, anything. I'm just gonna go raw.
I'm currently dealing with jock itch.
Oh.
And I can tell you that there is no way that I would go commando right now, because that would make my life infinitely more difficult.
And it'd make your jeans gross.
Yeah. I couldn't wear the same pair of jeans every day, which clearly I do.
Oh, yeah.
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 And that's an unfortunate yogurt stain.
That's a we can say it's yogurt. Welcome to Make Me Like This. This is episode 3. I'm Brandon. Today I'm talking to Jeff about a TV show that I watch and like that I know that he doesn't. I'm pretty certain that he doesn't. So,
just because you were alive when the Brady Bunch was new, doesn't mean that I'm not entitled to like it.
True. You know what's weird is while that is technically true, for some of it, I think, I had always assumed that Brady Bunch was filmed much sooner than it was, but it was like filmed, I think, mid to late 70s, but took place in the 60s, right?
The AstroTurf is the giveaway.
Oh, okay.
The late 70s was all AstroTurf.
Right.
Everything was AstroTurf.
Yeah, and they had Davy Jones on, who wouldn't have been popular then.
The highest paid athletes in the world played on concrete with felt that was colored green on top of it.
Yes, and the highest paid at that time were $30,000 a year or something like that, and like bone-crushingly terrible injuries that affected them for the rest of their lives. But speaking of bodies that are decrepit, I want to talk about The Walking Dead. Did you think I was going there?
No.
No, okay. Good. So, you don't watch The
Walking Dead is something I just never have watched.
Yeah, okay, good. This is perfect. So, I have always grown up hating horror, hating scary movies. I had an incident when I was young. When I was probably kindergarten age, the other boys in the neighborhood were a little bit older than me. So I went next door to my neighbor Brian's house and this was in the summer, and they were all watching Alien, the original Alien movie. And as I walked in was the scene where the alien popped out of the person's chest and just started attacking everyone. And I'm probably 6 years old at this point.
Dang.
Never seen anything like that. And freaked out, ran home, and had nightmares for weeks. So ever since then, I have not been one for any horror movies, scary stuff, blood, guts, monsters, nothing. So when my brother-in-law, during the first season of The Walking Dead, the movie, or the TV show, he says, he's explaining to me, he's like, "Oh my gosh, man, you gotta check out this show." And I'm like, "Dude, I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't like zombies." He's like, "Oh, but it's not about the zombies, man. It's about the people." It's like, okay. So he went into long detail. These are hour-long episodes. It probably took him 2 hours to explain everything going on in that first episode to me. But it got me intrigued enough to check it out. I was like, okay, man. He's like, "Trust me. Watch this first episode, and you'll be hooked."
What was his biggest point out of that 2 hours? Because I imagine there's a lot of stuff that he communicated. But what was it that made you go, "Okay, I'll give it a shot," besides my buddy's giving me a recommendation? Or was it just simply like, I trust this guy, I'm going to give it a shot?
He was so passionate. This is my brother-in-law. He was so passionate about this first episode of this show that he made me promise I would just watch that first one. And I was like, "Dude, I don't like zombie. I don't like gore. I don't like scary jump at you things. He's like, trust me, this is a completely different. This is different than every other thing in that genre. So I think just his overwhelming positivity towards this. He doesn't like a lot of shows, and for him to go out of his way to, at my niece's birthday party, go into all this detail about this show that I got to watch. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot.
He's not a stamp tramp.
He's not a sure. Yeah. I'm not sure what you mean, but
How I Met Your Mother, the stamp tramp, how Marshall just says everything's the greatest.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a very specific reference.
Yeah.
I've kind of fallen out with How I Met Your Mother references and gone back to Friends references. But okay, yes, I do get that. Yes, Marshall's
They're the same show to me. They're
very similar. Yes. But Walking Dead is a very different show.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not my cup of tea at all. I grew up on sitcoms. That's my comedy. That's my home base. But I watched this show, and it starts off with this sheriff named Rick. And this is rural Georgia. And he gets shot and goes into a coma. When he wakes up from the coma, there's nobody around. He's in an abandoned hospital, and he's like, he pulls the IV out of him, and it's clear that time had passed. And he's walking around this empty hospital, and he sees this giant, these doors that are, chained shut, and it says, "Don't open, dead inside." And he kind of like peeks in, and there's all these like zombie hands coming out of the door, and he's freaking out. He runs outside. There's dead bodies everywhere, and then some of them are animated, coming at him and stuff. And he's trying to figure out. They don't explain to you ever what happened. Mm-hmm. He was shot. He wakes up, and everyone's gone. Mm-hmm. And he comes across people and becomes acclimated to the new rules of the world. And, maybe an episode or two later, he gets reunited with his family. But his family, his son and his wife, have become part of this survival group. And they're kind of on the outskirts of Atlanta, but they make runs into the city to get supplies, to get food, mm-hmm. To survive.
So it's like a dystopian kind of
very
situation.
Much so. Oh yeah, very much so.
So it sounds similar to two movies that I'm familiar with. It sounds similar to 28 Days Later.
Okay.
That part of it.
Sure.
And I Am Legend.
Yes, I haven't seen either of them.
Okay.
But it reminds me of...
I enjoyed both of them.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
You might enjoy this then.
Yeah.
There's a Sandra Bullock movie named 28 Days.
This is not a Sandra Bullock.
And I feel like
rehab movie.
I heard a story of someone...
That's what that was, right?
Renting 28... Yeah, she was in rehab. 28 Days Later. And then was waiting for Sandra Bullock to appear on screen, but that may have been
No, 28 Days Later, I really appreciate how he wakes up in the hospital.
It's the same, same storyline almost?
I think it's the hospital, yeah. It's because he was in there and something was happening, he was isolated from all the chaos of everyone dying or becoming zombies, right?
Right.
And 28 Days Later starts in London. So something that I really appreciate about it, I know it's not central to the plot or anything like that, but the visuals of him walking through an empty London are similar to what I really appreciate about I Am Legend is walking through an empty Manhattan.
Okay, yeah.
And so like those...
And this starts out in an empty Atlanta.
Right.
Yeah, very similar imagery, I'm sure.
Yeah. Just the start, it makes you think, oh man, that's amazing. What would it be like if the busiest places in the world just stopped?
Yeah, for sure.
And then the laws cease to exist.
Yes, and he's a sheriff. So his whole, he's spent his career enforcing the laws and the rules in a world that no longer has any laws or rules. So, as the seasons go on, you've got to kill people or they're going to kill you.
Things in there.
A little bit. Yeah. So it's really interesting to see this, and he, he's a leader. He becomes the leader of the different groups as they, pick up other people into their survivalist group. And, people die, throughout the, I think this is the 10th season. Main characters drop off and die and stuff. And this weekend on Sunday, this is no spoiler or secret because it's been widely publicized, is the main character's last show probably going to die. The main character is an actor, Andrew Lincoln, who he's British. His family lives in London. So for 9 months out of the year, he's living in Georgia, working on this show. He's like, you know what? I've done this for 10 years. I love this show, but it's time for me to be with my family. It's time for me to move on. So this Sunday is the culmination of 10 seasons of this character being the main protagonist.
Is it the last season then, or are they going to continue?
Their hopes are to keep this going as long.
It's going to be Doctor Who?
It can't. That's what they want to do. Yes, I have no doubt that that's what they want to do.
Okay.
But it just the focus will shift to other people in the group.
It's another selling point to me if you tell me it's like Doctor Who, but it's not yet.
Yeah.
So.
Well, okay, gotcha. But the thing is, there are episodes that don't even have any zombies in them. It's all about the people, and it's the it puts you, and this is the reason that it really struck me from that first season, being like, oh, I can't stop thinking about this. I don't want to keep watching, is you put yourself in that position. You say, okay, if everything were to end, there's zombies, everyone's gone. How would I survive? How would I protect my family? How would I feed our family? How do we get around? How do we, you put yourself in that position, So I'm thinking like, hey, I'm going to go to a football stadium because they've got gates up, they've got bathrooms. You can take the field and turn it into a farm. You can, they got hot dog stands. You can eat the hot dogs till they go bad.
Hot dogs never go bad.
They don't go bad. You got at least a year's supply there. So it makes you think about, how would I survive if the apocalypse actually happens? If we're overrun by zombies and we've got to live that way, and these, and I think in a lot of zombie movies, traditionally, the zombies are strong and they're fast and stuff. These zombies are, if a dead body were to be reanimated with the physicality of the person it was, they're not super strong. They're just one-on-one. They're very easy to take out, But a huge horde of them, you can get overwhelmed, and then you see, people's demise because of that. It's the numbers of them. It's not about jumping out at you and them running up after you. Like, I don't know if you've seen Zombieland, the movie, but those ones are fast,
they're super athletic, and you become more powerful than you were when you were alive. Right.
This is simply.
So give me a benchmark of some. I haven't seen a lot of zombie movies, but I'm not opposed to zombie movies. My favorite zombie movie, and it's cheating. Can you guess, if I'm cheating, what my favorite zombie movie would be? You don't really like zombie movies, so it's not fair.
I don't, right? But I think if you say cheating, you're going to say Passion of the Christ, where Jesus comes back to life.
You're good. No, Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, Shaun of the Dead. Yes.
So it is a little cheating, right?
You know what? That is a zombie movie because it adheres to all of the core tenets of a zombie film, right? Mm-hmm. There's the apocalypse. There's of an outbreak or a virus that turns people into zombies. The only thing that's different about that is it's funny. It's supposed to be a comedy, right? Right. But it's still, and Zombieland is technically a comedy. There's a lot in there. I'm gonna make you like that too because it was something that I did appreciate and enjoy.
Was Walking Dead your gateway drug to zombie movies?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. I think it made me open to it. Although I can't remember what came first. I think
Really?
they might have been around the same time. But I think, and I didn't see
That's
Zombieland
crazy.
until it was on DVD. This is how long ago it was. But I may have checked it out after being open to watching The Walking Dead.
It's crazy that you go from being scared
Mm-hmm.
after Alien.
Yeah. And It. Oh my God, man. It
Remind
in
me
the
of It.
80s.
I think I remember It, but I don't know that I remember It.
It is like the killer clown that terrorizes these suburban kids.
Yeah.
They did a remake of it last year, I think. They're making another sequel. It's a Stephen King story turned into a movie.
Did Chucky bite that? Is that like, is Chucky something completely different?
Chucky is Child's Play.
Child's Play.
Child's Play is where there's like this this serial killer gets the electric chair and somehow his spirit enters a doll.
The style of making these movies in the 80s were totally different.
Oh,
than
man.
how,
Yeah.
how- I mean, the remake of It, I don't know how true to the originals, but
Yeah, I'm not touching it.
yeah.
Part of me wants to watch it, the new one, just to see what it's all about. But I'm worried about the PTSD from my childhood.
So
nightmares.
you go from there to transitioning to not one but two zombie themed
Yeah,
TV series.
yeah.
Do they have unique commonalities that you like just those two, or was it just like you got scarred as a 6-year-old? You really do like zombie themed like movies.
No, I think the effort and the craft of the writing is what I appreciate, because you got your Freddy Kruegers and your Friday the 13th and stuff. I don't think those are my exposure to them being very limited, but they're slasher films. They're unsuspecting teens get murdered and stuff. These ones take into consideration the character development of the people in these groups. At least in Walking Dead, it's different for a series versus a film. Zombieland was just a 2-hour film, but with Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, the little girl from Little Miss Sunshine, Emma Stone, Bill Murray's in it for a little bit. It was like, oh, this is humorous. This is funny. Like, how do you survive in this environment? And the whole movie is based around these rules. Rule number 1, you do your cardio. If you can't outrun a zombie, you're not going to last. Rule number 2, always double tap. If you think it's dead, make extra sure. Blast it again.
So that's the framework about how these people have built their culture is practical yet humorous in how detached it is from the way that we would live our lives.
Well, and it was a filmmaker's choice, right?
Right.
And I think that was my introduction to it. Was this is funny?
Yeah,
This is funny. Check it out. And I did think it was pretty humorous. But with Walking Dead, it's more you're following these people, and this you start off this group of maybe 12, 15 people in the first season. Right now, there's only probably 2 or 3 people left from that original group. So
and they keep finding people
and they bring people along, and
so that's how they
meet people along the way.
The ranks with still killing people off.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. And there's one woman who in the first season, her husband was abusing her, and she was a very introverted, abused wife. And fast forward 10 seasons, she is the toughest, strongest leader, and training the other people in the community to how to fight and how to use firearms and how to take out zombies most efficiently. The development on these characters is awesome. It's really good performances. So again, it's not really about the zombies. And even if looking back at the first season, the makeup kind of looks bad. It looks very fake. At the time, I didn't have much frame of reference, but now they've got, really good at it. You're
talking about a decade of time too. I mean, just
sure.
in 2008, I wonder what the comparables are.
Yeah, I guess so. And, it's had to get better as you move to high definition television and 4K TVs and stuff. It can't look crappy.
It's so good because, I mean, like NCIS still looks like NCIS did when it first started.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked old then, and it accounts for all their characters aging.
Yeah.
Which I think there's only, 2 original characters left or whatever.
Probably. Haven't seen that one either.
You haven't seen that?
No, but I really don't watch a lot of non-comedy
That's been like 15
shows.
years or something like that. And it's just, I really appreciate when you don't have it happen all the time, when popular shows come to their natural end.
Yeah.
And everyone allows it to come to that end.
Well, and everyone kind of feels it, right? They're like the 10th season of Friends, I don't think anyone thought was good. It's kind of wrapping up storylines, but if you look back at it now and watch it, it doesn't hold up to the first 5 seasons even,
Yeah.
And
they kind of hit a stride around season 3, season 3, 4, 5 or something like that.
Yeah, I think those ones all around the beach house when they went to the beach house.
Yeah.
And had that whole thing, I think was probably my favorites. The game show where they competed they did the trivia to win the good apartment.
Mm-hmm.
With Ms. Shenandler Bong. And
the combination of Ross and Rachel being 2 ships passing in the night with their relationship, with all the other people trying to make sense of their single lives and just enjoying being broke in Manhattan, essentially.
But living in
100K
a year,
and they explain it by being rent controlled, and I mean,
maybe
there's and being super detailed about certain things, but not detailed about other things. I think one of the later storylines that I really appreciate, and we shouldn't be talking about Friends this much, but just is how anytime they had kids, they really never had the kids.
Right.
The kids played no significant impact on the way that
they were there, but mostly with the other families.
Yeah, but again, when I wonder about that. For me, 10 seasons is a lot, especially to commit to while I'm not in it yet, right?
Right.
I'm going to start back in 2008 when the makeup wasn't as good.
Yeah.
What I hear from you is that the characters are compelling, and so that will the aesthetics isn't going to bug me too much.
Yeah.
I like Doctor Who. I like stuff continuing on.
Yeah.
But is there lulls? Is there a lot of filler? I mean, especially if this is like a monumental moment this weekend, and I was going to start binging tomorrow.
Yeah.
Am I going to miss it? And where can I binge at? I don't.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. All
but the current season are on Netflix.
So then the current season, I'd have to. It's on AMC.
It's on AMC. Yeah, and I think there are only 4 episodes into the 10th season. But it's an awful long commitment. I will say that the second season, not very strong. There's a lot of and this might speak to the filmmaking aspect of it is. They find places that are fortified and usually spend a season at that place because it's safe. This is a good place for us to raise food and livestock and have a relatively safe, if it's a wall, if it's a fence or whatever. But then they move on, because of various events. The second season takes place on a farm, and it seems to go pretty slow, but there's a lot of things happening. It's a lot of talking.
Seems like a farm would be good for taking care of your agricultural
Yep.
needs and stuff like that, but pretty crappy for defending yourself.
Well, it's got chicken wire fencing around it. So given what they're coming from, which was just like a campsite in the first season, it was a step up. And then the season after that, it's a prison.
I got you.
And the season after that, it is, I think it's like a community a gated community.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
A lot of threats in those communities.
Yes. And solar panels sometimes, so you can play video games.
You gotta watch out for a one-legged sprinter or a no-legged sprinter.
What?
Shooting you.
Yep. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Blade Runner reference.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I even forget. Oh, Oscar Pistorius.
No. I thought you were talking about the
Oscar
Pistorius.
Pistorius.
Oscar. Yeah.
Oscar the murderer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I was more offended. Not the Blade Runner. Now I'm not offended.
No, they called him Blade Runner because he ran on blades. I'm serious.
Okay. No, I thought you were talking about the movie.
I had to. So I was like, yeah, that guy that murdered his girlfriend.
Yes.
In the gated community in South Africa.
Yes.
He's South African. He was a South African sprinter.
Yes.
He ran in the regular.
His prosthetic
Olympics
was
even.
looked like a blade.
His prosthetic looked like a blade. Blade Runner. And then until I said Blade Runner, I couldn't remember Oscar Pistorius.
Ah, yes. I thought you were talking about. I thought you were referencing Oscar Pistorius, and I was like, "Oh my God, did you go there?" And then you said Blade Runner. I was like, "Oh, you're talking about a movie." and then you brought it back.
And then, oh, he did.
Yeah, he did.
So as long as he's on their side and not a zombie yet.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is the people are the biggest threat, not the zombies,
really?
Which is what makes it interesting because you've got a safe place, you've got a haven where you can survive and thrive. People want to take that. And there's no rules anymore. There's no laws. So someone has what you want, you take it. You kill them and you take it.
You've already mentioned this before, but this further elaboration just makes me want to watch it more. Like that in itself.
Yeah.
That it's a zombie film that's about the weaknesses of people.
It's all about people.
Yeah.
And there just happens to be zombies roaming around. But it is all about the people and the relationships and the dynamic and the survival and trying to figure out how to do all of that while other people are trying to do that. And they may not be part of your group. They may be part of your group. There may be people in your group that are pissed off because you're leading and they want to lead. There's a lot of different and you know what? It's not the best show in the world in terms of like writing and acting. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty decent, but I'm not trying to sell this as this is Breaking Bad. This is, whatever you would consider to be The Wire or something like that.
What was it? That brings up a good point. So, quick Breaking Bad thing.
Yeah.
We were binging hard on Breaking Bad. We didn't start watching Breaking Bad until it was over. It's pretty true to form for us, and us is me and my wife.
Yeah, yeah.
Not my toddler.
Wait until he's 4.
Wait until he's 4, and then you can show him Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
But that was actually the thing. I think we were hitting it hard. We were getting through stuff, and then I forget exactly the circumstances, but all of a sudden there was like a little kid.
Yeah.
Involved in it.
Yeah.
And Julie was like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because it reminded her of
your kids.
Our kids.
And then you kind of project the situation onto your own children. You see you know what your feelings are towards your children, and it becomes too real. The content that you're watching.
Not for me, but yes, that's what happened. I'm still wanting to finish Breaking Bad, but I haven't found time by myself to devote to binging on that.
Yeah.
So a big requirement for this to work, 10 seasons, how many hours?
I mean, I would say it's
how many episodes?
I think it's 16 episodes per season. The first season is 6 episodes, an hour apiece. It's a lot. But I will say I would not recommend it for your wife because there's a lot of stuff with kids in the group.
Okay.
And if she didn't like the one thing happening to the one kid in Breaking Bad, she's definitely not going to like what happens to kids in this, because there's no discretion. Old people, young people, very physically fit people.
So you don't always have to make my wife like stuff in order for me to like stuff. But when it comes to TV shows with a pretty big commitment, it's something I got to consider. I think that we might have still a glimmer of hope. I can't believe I'm trying to help you to make me like this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But so it's not just the kid part. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest thing about Breaking Bad is like, oh my God, this could happen.
Yes.
Like that these are normal people that just get caught up in. I mean, Cranston's character is like the greatest example of a guy that goes from normal life to abnormal, the most completely abnormal, right?
Right.
And
I would argue that his character development in that series is the greatest evolution I've ever seen in film or television. It was.
God, I want to watch it so bad.
If you look at him in his character in the first one, a very meek, unsure of himself science teacher, and then at the end where you see him is like you can't even recognize the same person in that.
Right.
Yeah.
But from episode to episode, there's continuity.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
the thing is it's not like all of a sudden, boom, he's out in the deep end.
No,
it's just such great writing and such a great job for him in the nuance of like his body language and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I only was in, I think that's maybe like the third season that the kid stuff comes in. I got to go back.
Yeah,
I just remember it involved the kid and she was done. But it was a combination of like, this is happening to a kid and I can see this being a real thing.
It's realistic enough that it's not fantasy.
And it's the reason why she doesn't like the representation of Heath Ledger's Batman. Or not Batman, Joker.
Joker, yeah.
In the Batman film.
Why? Because because of what happened with Heath Ledger?
No. Because she felt that his depiction of the Joker took on the form of like she could see that really happening.
An actually demented, psychotic person
being like that
rather than a caricature of an evil bad guy.
Of a clown,
yeah.
Right? And she says, it was so good, and I really appreciated the movie.
Yeah.
But the problem is that he took a fantasy bad guy who was evil.
Yeah.
And was able to maintain, like, the hollowness, the bad for bad sake, but then make me believe that like he's an actual sociopath living. These are sociopaths living among us are capable of similar things.
Yeah,
and it's like so it's a weird thing where when stuff is well executed, but
it's too good.
It's too good.
Yeah.
for her in some cases.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder, like, is Walking Dead not too good, like those two examples?
I wouldn't put it in that same category because ultimately it's still zombies walking around, and I think that there's enough of a departure from reality that never escapes your consciousness. There's no slipping into reality in this. It's clearly fiction.
It's more Bachelor in Paradise than Breaking Bad.
There are a lot of similarities between Walking Dead and Bachelor in Paradise. You know, you start off with a lot more people, and then it dwindles down and dwindles down and dwindles down. The craziness of people comes out the more you get to know them, and the longer they stay on the show, and lots and lots of STDs. You know, it's hard to find protection in the apocalypse, you know. All kinds of diseases running around in there. All kinds of diseases running around
lots of
Paradise.
Lots of love triangles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Equally.
Yeah.
Equally.
Lots of date cards.
Yes. Chris Harrison comes out in both and just recaps what's going on.
You know what would make Bachelor in Paradise better? Less Chris Harrison.
Less Chris Harrison.
So if Chris Harrison were to get eaten by a zombie or shot by another human wanting his fortification in the first episode, I'd be okay with that.
Good. You know, Chris Harrison's job, I would love that job.
You'd be good at Chris Harrison's job.
You fly to Mexico, you fly to Tokyo, Spain, wherever, and you just come up and you say like 3 sentences, and then you go home. You just like, hey, there's 1 rose left. If you don't get a rose, you got to go home. Please say your goodbyes. And then you're done.
See, I could do that part.
You just made $50K.
We could do it together because I think that you're like completely capable of feigning interest in people's lives.
Yeah.
Because you're so good at actually caring about people's lives and you kind of just want to extend that.
Sure.
I'm really good about being blunt about people's circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
So I would really like to, maybe we could like tag team that a little bit. And you could be like, I could be, what's the anger interpreter?
Luther.
I could be Luther. You could
from Jordan and Peele.
Yeah.
Key and Peele, yeah.
You could be like, so I think that the time has come for the rose ceremony. And, you know, this is where it all comes to a head.
Yeah.
And then I could be like, 1 of you guys are going home. Nope. 5 of you guys are going home.
Yeah.
There's only 3 girls left.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
I would love that. That'd be good. Good vacation, get a little bit of break from the families and work and you know, have some drinks with
I forget about that. Like you basically get built-in vacations by doing that.
For your vacations are your work, basically.
My gosh.
You work for a couple of hours maybe, and if that.
You just have, I mean, the worst part is putting makeup on.
You got to put makeup on. I've done it. It's fine. You get used to it real quick.
So ask me.
Okay. So Jeff, I want to know if you now like The Walking Dead, and do you like it enough to at least watch the first 6 episodes that first season?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I'll give the first 6 episodes a try for sure. And I think some of your biggest points, you had me for this pretty much at the start.
Really?
When I started seeing similarities between 28 Days Later and I Am Legend. But the biggest factor for my wife was Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah.
If I can sell it as, let's watch 6 episodes of Bachelor in Paradise with zombies.
I should have started with that.
Though that could have been a much shorter episode.
All right, man. Great. Well, that's another point for me. So it's 2-1 right now. And, you know, thanks for walking through this, this episode with me.
I see what you did there.
It was a stretch.